PC Mortals, welcome to the Original Titan channel. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe. This is a channel that is focusing right now on the Poleshift as far as the weather is concerned, as far as the cosmic rays that are hitting us, all right, coming from the deep space through the sun, and even talking about some things about the sun and the magnetism and how is all of this affecting us, our minds, the way we think, our sluggishness, our high blood, low blood pressures, autoimmune effects. You know, all of this is coming into play with these solar rays and solar winds and magnetisms and everything like that. I do have some articles pulled up on my computers that I do want to share with you, because you may not hear this information on the news, and even if you don't even watch the news and know what sites to go to, you may not have time to do it, because if you are working in the matrix, then most likely you are working at 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. By the time you get to the house, you know you have to take care of your family duties, and then it's time to really get ready to go to bed after that. All right, and you may be tired. You might want to leave the rest of your time to say meditate, get your bearings, get your own self stabilized, and that's important too. We can't leave out our meditation time, our quiet time, and our reflection. All right, on what we can do. Now, I'm looking at a site called the Watchers.news, and on this particular site, they not only list the earth changes and the severe weather, space weather, space in and of itself, but they also list all of the events that's going on in the country, and not only in the country but in the world. Like, for instance, on this particular day, massive floods hit Cantabria. That's in Spain, and residents are saying that it's worse as they've ever remembered in their history. 2 firefighters were battling blazes near Sydney, Australia, and they ended up dying. Of course, there's been a widespread flooding throughout southern Iran, and we can even talk about what's going on here in the United States. Severe storms that claimed the life of 16 people across the South and Midwest. Snow squalls that barrel through the Northeast and U.S. and all of those things that's happening. Down here in the South, there's been a lot of tornadoes going on that's been hitting. And I know that Louisiana has gotten their fair share of tornadoes, and I think they've also hit Mississippi and Alabama areas too. Power outages were seen across, I think, 13,000 power outages in the South. Okay, now that's not fun. Okay, anybody who's been without their power know that, especially if you have need of that power, with your refrigerator is hooked up, you might be able to go without washing, so you may not need that power right away. But if you're on any type of oxygen or dialysis, or you need an air conditioner or fan, probably not an air conditioner because a lot of people are in the winter time right now. Then again, there are those who do have hot flashes that may want to have some type of fan going. If you don't have any electricity, then you have to do it the old-fashioned way, right? To be without power and to be without telephone, to be without cell phone, to be without any type of communication aid, computers, it's something that we have not really had to experience as a whole. Maybe certain individuals may have went without it maybe a day, a week, or, and even probably a month. But for the most part, we're not going without these items, these AI tools that serve us, okay? We're not going without them, and we become spoiled with them. We don't know how we can really even continue our day with having to talk to somebody, A lot of us, especially the young folks, and some older people too, they can't hold a conversation because they don't really know what else to say or do if they don't have something else to occupy their mind and be in their personal private world on their lonesome. Now, it is coming a time in the earth when even that won't be so private, when we will be able to know what you're thinking and read your thoughts as well as you, and which means that transparency is important, and to have a pure heart, okay, is the main thing. Because if you have that, then you won't have to worry about who knows what, who's saying what. There's a lot of things on Watchers.news that is pretty bad, and my job is not just to point out all the bad stuff, but to make us aware of what's going on so that we can begin to make preparation, okay, for when it's our turn, okay. That's eventually it's going to be our turn, to deal with the water, with the flooding, with the snow, too much snow. Somebody got dumped a whole bunch of snow. Where was that at? 3 to 9 inches, I want to say. 3 to 9 inches. I think that was in Missouri. That's quite a lot, especially if you're an elder and you don't have anybody to go out there and shovel that snow for you. Okay. And in another part of the world, it also happened. Somebody else had some snow that was it was a lot. What was it? 30 feet of snow. That's it. Severe blizzard dumps up to 30 feet of snow on parts of northern Iceland. Now you might say, well, Iceland, they should be used to, those type of conditions. Whether they're used to it or not, 30 feet, that's, my God. That's just like people that's from the South, they say to people who from the North, well, you're used to the cold, what you complaining about, this is something you're used to. Yeah, but when that don't mean that you want to deal with it just because you're used to it. You get what I'm saying? So just because they're in Iceland don't mean that they automatically say, oh, well, let's go shovel that 30 feet of snow. I don't think that they usually get 30 feet of snow. Okay, that's a severe blizzard that happened over there. I think that happened on the 19th, which was yesterday, with all of that snow. So a lot of stuff is going on because of these cosmic rays. They're talking about that the Barella lights, the aurora lights that are usually in the northern part of the Earth are now only 30,000 feet, which means that if you're in an airplane, you can easily go into the Barella lights. And is that a good thing? Well, some people look at it like, oh, it's so beautiful, the greens and the pinks and all that, and the purples, but those colors mean something. Pink means that there's too much radiation, nitrogen, I want to say. Green means something else. Purple means something else. I don't know what the colors offhand. I know pink offhand, but the rest of them I'm not precise with it. But the point of the matter is that they mean something, and it's usually too much of something. All right. So we know that they're on the Earth because of the ionosphere and the magnetosphere not able to hold back all that radiation that's hitting this planet from the solar system coming from the sun. All right. So that means that we are seeing the overflow of those cosmic rays. Now, that is not good, especially if it's only 30,000 feet and you're in an airplane. That means that you are being exposed to those cosmic rays. If you are a stewardess, a pilot, or anything along those lines that you have to be in the air, it's not considered that great. Now, I have a site here called Chaos and Cover-Ups, okay? The name of it is Chaos and Cover-Ups of, well, actually the site itself is from the ancientorigins.net. Ancientorigins.net. And they have the article that I'm looking at is called Chaos and Cover-Ups. What evidence exists of an ancient polar shift? Now, polar shifts are not something that's a new phenomenon. It's new to us because we weren't taught this, but it's something that's cyclical, that happens so many thousands of years, okay? And this earth is familiar with it, but we weren't, okay? Now, once upon a time, we may have been familiar with it because this is not our first life on this planet. It may be for some people, and for others, it's not, all right? Meaning that a lot of the scientists are going back to see what the ancients said about the pole shift that they were encountering at that particular time on this planet. Now, what it's saying on this article is saying that the magnetic pole shifts are in the news a lot recently because our magnetic North Pole is racing towards Russia, while the Earth's magnetic field strength is falling fast. Okay, now the European Space Agency, ESA, said that this could be the beginning of a magnetic pole shift. Evidence suggests that the rotational axis will also shift to stay aligned with the magnetic field. Now, these catastrophic pole shifts come in a periodic cycle of recurring and predictable cataclysms involving huge earthquakes and tsunamis, changes in the latitude and altitude, mass extinctions, and the destruction of civilizations, reducing them to myth and legend. Now that's quite a lot to say. You know, when we think of Atlantis, we think of Lemuria, we think of all these different ancient civilizations that supposedly existed. Nobody has really found any evidence of it yet. But as they go deeper onto the sea floor, more and more things they begin to see of ancient civilizations and temples and things like this. They were considered advanced people. There was a mass extinction. Yet somebody lived. Somebody had to live because we're here. You know, so now our job is to find out how did they live. What did they do to survive these catastrophic events in the weather? You know, were they all the way into their subtle body, their light bodies? You know, or were they able to teleport or go into other higher dimensions while the earth did her thing? You know, these are questions that we're seeking, you know, and I don't think they're going to be found so much in religion, all right? Because religion just mainly wants you to serve somebody, all right, to worship somebody. And you get a chance to maybe get a treat here and now and again. But the bottom line is they're not really telling you how to survive the pole shift. Now, some people might say, well, Noah, he was, you know, told how to, he was told to build that ark and with gopher wood and all this and that. But that's a metaphysical story that's not being properly decoded either. You know, we know, just using common sense, that wood is not going to survive the submersion of water with being able to intake fresh air for no real live people and animals. I mean, that's not going to fly. And so since no one has expounded the truth about that story and give the truth about it, except for secret societies might do it, you know, folks that's in the higher learning that don't want the masses of the people to know, they'll know what those codes mean. And if you want to know what all that means, then I'm pretty sure there's some groups out there. There's some mystery systems you can get into. You can get into the priesthood, you know, priestesshood, and find out some of those things. You know, the bottom line is we're going to have to find out something, because these pole shifts, this is no joke, okay? Now, most people don't want to know that the pole shift is coming. They don't want to know that America could replace Atlantis in legends of lost civilizations. Your government censors the evidence to make sure you'll keep working and funding their preparations until it happens. But for those who are willing to look, the evidence exists. Now, and I'm tending to believe that I'm not going to read any more of this. If you want to read it, then you can go to ancientsorigins.net and look up chaos and cover-ups and what evidence exists of an ancient pole shift. And we also know from just looking at certain cave drawings and paintings that there was more left by the predecessors on this planet to us, you know, but a lot of the scientists dismissed it as primitive, childlike, basically said that it wasn't about shit. Okay, really, you know. That's their take on it, but now they're understanding, wait a minute, we looking at things in space now that looks like some of those drawings that we saw in those caves. Maybe these people weren't, idiots. You know, maybe they knew something. You see how when your ego is way up and you think you know it all, you know, you think you're the only one that's ever been on the planet, and not realizing that you're really the last one. Okay, they've been on the planet. And even though mankind now wants to leave AI as the last thing on the planet, that's not even going to fly. You know, in order for AI to exist, there has to be, a source. There has to be electricity. There has to be, something for them to function on, a cloud or whatever. That some people say, well, they don't need that. Yeah, they do. And this is the kicker. The scientific world, the government and all of them, they're so afraid that this cosmic energy is going to knock their satellites and power grids out. That the cosmic energy coming into the planet is going to fry the astronauts, which it's doing right now. You don't hear too much about the astronauts' health. They're battling up there with this cosmic energy. They are first and foremost on the front line with dealing with cosmic radiation. They're talking about going to Mars and going to all these other planets that's close by. They won't be able to go nowhere with that cosmic energy. And they know that. So to sit there and say that, AI is all of that, all right, when they know that this cosmic energy can hit one CME, those coronal mass ejections from the sun, just one hit, and it's done. It's over. And that concludes AI. So don't put no hope into no AI. If it ain't no hope in yourself, then it shouldn't be no hope at all. All right. A lot of different issues are happening in the planet. We still got, of course, the treason going on in the government between the Democrats and the Republicans, and all of them are really in the same boat. But look at the time that they're wasting and the money that they're wasting with bickering. When we're faced with life and death situations, if anything happened to those power grids today, it would be automatic chaos. Because then you have stranded, and I'm going to ask you to forgive this ambulance service or whatever. Looks like, it's an ambulance service. Hope whoever's in there is going to be okay. But, I live close by a fire department, and they come through here all the time. I'll never make that mistake again. But I have gotten such a good deal. I went for it. But it can interfere with your podcast and your sleep and everything else. So, getting back to the country, they're not caring about what we're doing and how we're making out and how we're, surviving. They're busy lining their pockets. Joe Biden, with all the money his son stole from over there overseas, dealing with all of that. Then these same crooks want to get up there and try to run for president. The presidency has no more respect. It's been gone. All right? Where we're concerned, the melanin-dominant population, none of us really had a stake in it in the first place. This is not our government. They're on our land, okay? And this is actually a government sitting on top of other governments. Unfortunately, the one that's sitting on top of everybody else is because they have the bigger guns. And they have the more organization to their madness. But all of that will be coming to an end very shortly. They say that there's an article here on ZeroHedge.com that says that the U.S. Fed officially claims that 50% of Bitcoin transactions are associated with illegal activity. Now, what did they think? Right? What did they think? Of course it was going to be laced with illegal activity. But when you try to do something good, something bad is all alongside it as well. If you want a Bitcoin because you don't want the banks and all them in control of your money and you don't want nobody else seeing your money, okay, then Bitcoin is the way to go. But, like you say, other things are going to be happening. Now, how are they going to control that? You see, it's always one thing. And so I would say to just be done with it all. Let's look for another world. Let's look for another world, not this type of world. I'm not talking about the earth. I'm talking about the way the world is set up that needs to end. It's just a sickening. It's madness. So, then with the Poleshift, that's why it's here. I'm glad it's here. It's time to just get rid of all this madness, shake off all the BS, which is the backstories and the belief systems and things. And so we can start all over again, affecting the earth's memory and the thoughts and the feelings of the people, the masses of the people on the planet, can be uplifted. All right? And so that's going to do it for right now. I'm not sure how long I talked, but just wanted to touch bases with you about some of the things that are happening right now. A lot of stuff going on in the financial world and in the law. Okay? whether it benefits us or not, which most likely it doesn't, it's still good to at least know what is going on to prepare yourself. I would leave you with this admonishment. I would ask for everyone who's watching this podcast to go home and get into your quiet space and come up with a covering to say to yourself, to cover yourself each and every time with the highest energy in the universe. Speak it. Cover yourself that nothing can be able to come in and do anything to you, all right, to harm you, to overtake, to look at you through the eyes of your children, or disrupt your inner world space, any of that, okay? Begin to say the Christians call them prayers. The spiritualists may call them magical sayings or coverings, or whatever word or whatever name you want to think of for that. Do that. That's very necessary in this day and time. And for right now, I'm going to sign off and ask that everyone have a wonderful imprinting heptad, which is a week, and I'll see you all shortly. Peace.